Coming up next, we're talking to the first openly gay Episcopal dean in the U.S.
And still to come. Our next guest has a very rich life story. In addition to being the first openly gay Episcopal dean in the U.S., he was part of the anti-apartheid movement alongside Nobel laureate Desmond Tutu. Robert V. Taylor's new book, A New Way to Be Human, 7 Spiritual Pathways to Becoming Fully Alive, draws on his unique life experiences. And I want to try to get through to the 7, although we'll just touch on them in such a cursory way. You have such wonderful wisdom in this book. In the backdrop of that anti-apartheid movement and this whole idea of freedom after oppression, and I think that can be applied to so many in this world.
Absolutely. It's great to be with you, Dina. Thank you. The book is really an invitation to the reader to enter into an integrated life of wholeness in which love and compassion and mercy and kindness are part of your grounding. And I really believe that for many of us, that emerges when we're really authentic about who we are. And so a key part of the book is really about knowing your story.
And that's what you say is number 1. It's connecting your story. But before you can connect it, I think you have to figure out what it is and look inside yourself and say, how do I want to tell my story?
Absolutely. And the book obviously offers some tools for doing that. But you know, somebody asked me at a book event a few days ago, what if you don't have anything interesting in your story? And my heart went out to her.
Right.
Because I believe that in each of our stories, there is universal wisdom and truth, and there is spiritual learning for each of us. And so it's a matter of creating awareness and being attentive to what's there. You know, we tell a story differently. When I was a little kid, I used to love going fishing with my dad. I don't tell this in the book, but it was a big adventure to go with Dad fishing for the day. And that's the story I'd tell. And when I was 8 or 9, I would tell the story about going fishing with my dad and how I hated to kill the fish. And when I was in my 30s and 40s, I told the same story, but it revealed a different truth to me because I was at a different place. It was a story about a wonderful man who never knew how to express emotions. And this was his way of doing it, of spending time alone together.
And those people who say they don't have a story, I think, are people who really haven't looked, or perhaps they've told it in a way that is not helpful to them. Like, something bad happened to me, and that's why. That's my excuse for not being happy. When in reality, it's about saying, wait, I got through this, and I could.
Absolutely. And I talk a lot in the book about learning practices, both of awareness, but also of a detachment. Because, you know, I believe that the path to a new way to be human and to becoming fully alive is knowing that you are beloved, knowing your belovedness, and experiencing unconditional love. Many of us live with a sense of conditional love. You love me if I do X or Y. Now, I don't believe that's love. That may be a transactional relationship, but it's not unconditional love. And sometimes we need to practice detachment from situations that are toxic or life-draining.
Well, and you talk about that in your own personal world, you know, this idea of holiness disguised, but really, sometimes your holiness or your spirituality flies in the face of what others may think. And you said, okay, I'm struggling with this. I want to be openly gay, but that might not be received well in the church. And it's okay to find your voice and then perhaps to be an example for others.
Absolutely. Because, you know, I believe that when we don't find our voice or we run from the truth of who we are, you know, we try to be a sort of a male person, we try to play up to a male-dominated world as a woman, or we overcompensate as a person of color, or we function differently as a gay person. That's not being authentic about who we are. Our voice is needed, the voice of every single person, because when I claim my voice, I begin to have, with all of the truth about who I am, I then yearn to meet you in all of your truth and in all of your wonder. And suddenly we start having these unexpected connections.
Right. And that's how you connect with the world, with other people, and really feel good about yourself. And that's the overriding message that I got. You author the script of your life, but you just have to figure out what it is and how it connects to other people.
Absolutely.
So many pearls of wisdom in here. It is truly terrific. Thank you so much for putting it all together as a guide for us to live our lives.
Thank you, Dina.
Robert V. Taylor, if you want a link to find out more about the book, A New Way to Be Human, 7 Spiritual Pathways to Becoming Fully Alive, log on to our website, WGNTV.com/midday.